right, here we go. Sarah here. Welcome back to another episode of Your Fucking Welcome. I was in New Jersey for this past week and a half, so there was no new episode last week. I apologize about that, but I just felt like I needed to take the 4th off and relax a little bit. But I'm here. I'm back with you today, and what I want to talk to you about is really how to share your wins and how to share your success without being a dick. I was having this conversation with a client last week, and this is somebody who is successful. She had her biggest month last month, and the most authentic person, somebody who does really good work, who works really hard, who cares so much about her company, her business, her message, all of it. And she was wanting to share online about her biggest month, right? And she's done this before. She's talked about the fact that she's had her biggest month, but she's always hesitated to actually share the numbers, right? She didn't want to be too in your face. She didn't want to be too obnoxious, whatever word we want to use, when it came to sharing with the world how much money she was making and all of that. And she was like, I just never know if I want to share that. Like, part of me feels like I know I'm going to make more money, right, if I do share this. But the other part of me is like worried about what certain people are going to think, whether I'm going to trigger somebody in my audience or whether, I'm going to have family members kind of talk about me and criticize this. And again, I wanted to bring this to you because I know she is not unique in that struggle, right? Like, I know this is something that she's not only dealing with. I know that it's something that a lot of us deal with, and I know that I deal with it from time to time. And so again, I wanted to riff on this a little bit, and I wanted to share with you and hopefully give you a little bit more permission to kind of step into owning, right, your success and owning being able to share it. Because here's the thing, and I mean this so sincerely, like, I feel like some people can talk about this online, and it comes from this place of like ego, meaning, people are pushing you to share these things because it ultimately makes them more money, right? It makes them look good. But I'm really sharing this with you, and I really truly mean it so sincerely when I say that I am so freaking grateful for the periods in my life, in my business, when I saw people sharing their wins, whether it was 10K months or 50K months or 100K months, or sharing their lifestyle, right, that I ultimately aspired to have, aspired to create for myself. It used to trigger the shit out of me, right? Like, I used to have the same kind of feelings that so many people do about like, oh, that's gross, that's icky, like they're being a show off, they're bragging, so on and so forth. But the bottom line for me personally is I've always wanted to make a lot of money. I've always liked luxury things. I've always aspired to have those things. And at a certain point in my life, I definitely kind of resigned myself to feeling and believing that I wasn't the kind of girl who got to have those things. I didn't come from the family who was that well off, so on and so forth. I had all of these stories about what was and wasn't possible for me, right? And so in those moments that I didn't think it was possible, or I wasn't feeling like it was possible for me, of course, seeing that from somebody else online, it was triggering, right? But over time, it started to stop being so triggering, and it started to instead, again, show me that if it was possible for somebody else, it was possible for me too. And I would not in a million years have strived for all of the things that I've accomplished in my business had I not been triggered as fuck by some of these people years and years ago, right? Had it not been for people showing me that, again, they had it and I could have it too. And that's not to say that every single person out there was doing it in the most authentic, genuine, kind way. They weren't. Many times they weren't. But it still served me personally, somebody who is striving for more, it served me personally to see those things out there, right? And so what I want you to understand here is that this is a really good analogy. One of my clients, Kristen, shared it with me on our last Inner Circle call, and I'm going to use the hell out of it because I felt like it was such a powerful visual, and I love visuals, right? But what happens when so many of us are creating success, striving towards the next level of success, right? Creating more money, creating more, again, success for ourselves, right? Whatever that looks like, whether it's like a 5K month or a 500K month, like whatever it is, we're on this path of going into new territory. We're leaving behind the past essentially, and we're moving towards a new future that we've never kind of experienced before. And so the analogy that Kristen used was like, it's like when you see people on the trapeze, right? Like in the circus, whatever it is, like they're doing that trapeze and they have to kind of grab onto the new bar, right? And like, but they're kind of still holding on to the previous bar that they were on, and you've got to let go in order to get to the next one, like, right, to put your other hand on the other bar. I hope you know what I'm saying here. I'm not describing that very well, but I think we all know what trapeze looks like, right? And so I use that example here because we have to remember always what we're focused on. Are we focused on the bar behind us, right? Appeasing and appealing to the people who are in judgment or who are, again, thinking small for themselves, not thinking about what is actually possible. People who are, again, not striving towards more the way that we are, or not conscious and not open to being curious about why you're sharing these things, so on and so forth. Again, those judgmental people that we've all had in our lives. Or are we striving for that next bar, right? Are we striving to reach and to talk to the person who needs to know and needs to hear what is possible? Because that makes all the difference in the world. This is what I said to this client. I was like, the reality is that I can be totally honest with you here and say, yes, that if you are dangling in front of everybody, right, how much money you're making and throwing those numbers at people, at the end of the day, people want to make more money. And if you're sharing with them that they can probably make more money too, yes, it is probably going to make you more money. Like, let's not pretend that's not truth. There's a lot of truth to that is something that is appealing to people. So yes, sharing these wins, sharing these factual successes that you're having, yes, dangling, quote unquote, those things in front of your people, in front of your audience, yes, it's probably going to make you more money. But way more importantly, it is coming from a place of purpose. And I know with this particular client, it is coming from a place of purpose. She is somebody who, in her particular niche, she wanted to do what she's doing, right? She wanted to have the career that she was having. And she shared the story with me and with her audience. But years ago, she Googled, how much does this type of person make, right? How much does this person in this industry make? And the Google response that she got was X amount of dollars a year. And she was like, oh God, I don't know if I'm ever going to make either that. Like, that felt like a big number to her at that time. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a number at all. And here she is now making that exact number, or pretty close to it, in a month. And so we're talking about this, and I'm just reminding her, this is where we have to set aside ourselves, set aside our ego, set aside the sales that we want. And this is truly, truly, truly about coming back to purpose. That person who is Googling that same thing right now, right, and is trying to figure out if she can make it as somebody in this industry, wanting to know about how much money is possible for her, and is this a good career for her? Again, can she have the success that she wants to with this industry? She needs to hear what you're saying. And so again, if we put aside the possible judgments, if we put aside the fact that sure, this might make us more money, and we actually just always remind ourselves here to come from a place of purpose, that is when it does a whole lot of good, in my opinion, in my experience. But more than that, it's when you get less shit. Right? It's when you get less shit from people, because again, it's a situation where, like I said, if you are in this place where you're like, okay, well, I know if I share this, I know if I dangle it in front of people, it'll make me more money. When you feel kind of, I don't want to say inauthentic, but you feel like it's not completely home or organic to you to share it in that way, what I see a lot of people do is, rather than like processing and figuring out how to share it in their own authentic way, they just kind of force it in front of everybody's faces. And then that's when it feels off, because not only is it like a triggering topic, money, but it's also a situation where that person was sharing not as themselves, they were sharing from a place of should. Right? They were sharing from a place of like, oh, this might make me more money. So I'm going to half think this like post, this thought, and I'm going to put it out there for people, hoping that it makes me more money. Whereas instead, this is where, again, if you are just remembering who the fuck you are and what you're here to do, and remembering, again, the genuine impact, the purpose that you're actually trying to have, the purpose that leads behind your message, behind why you're creating a business in the first place, I find when you're coming from a place of that, where again, value is coming first, you're sharing this because you genuinely want it to move the right person. You genuinely want the right person to hear it and for them to be affected by it. That is when, again, in my opinion, in my experience, that is when the message comes across authentically. It comes across genuinely. You're far less likely to hear shit and opinions and, again, negativity from it. Right? Because again, people can clearly feel and see the value and the intent behind the actual sharing of the message. And so again, I wanted to share that with you today just because A, I know somebody needs to hear it, but B, I know that we've been marketing and we've been sharing, that the price for the You're Fucking Welcome Insiders community is going up next week I should say Friday. It's going up Friday, end of day, to $29 a month. It's $19 a month now. And it's the last chance to get in at that $19 a month this week. In sharing the community, something that I've talked a lot about and something that I've shared a lot because I feel really I feel sincerely that the kind of person that is in this community, right, they're come with me girls versus look at me girls. That's who I tend to attract for the most part. I tend to attract women who really care about what they do, right? Women who want to see themselves, sure, be seen, but they also want to make other people be seen, right? It's not just about them. It's not just about look at me for the sake of it. It's about I'm doing this, I'm creating the life that I want, and I want all of you to come along with me because if it's possible for me, I want you to feel and understand that it's possible for you too, right? And so I know that for the most part, if you're listening to this, that's who you are. And I feel like it's easy sometimes to hear and to see negative conversations and negative opinions online about people who are, again, at the top, sharing their success. And it's almost like we can forget who we are. We can kind of lump ourselves into the category of people who may not care as much as we do, right? And so I'm saying that because I want you to remember, again, who the fuck you are in this business, in this thing that you're doing. I believe that, again, most of the people that are listening to me right now, if not all, are come with me girls versus look at me girls. And so that means it is your job. It needs to be your mission to not only share your wins, but to share the fuck out of your wins and share them unapologetically because, again, there are people out there who need to hear it. There are people out there who need to get to the next phase of their life, their success, all of it. And women like you are the ones that give them permission to strive towards that, to not feel guilty about it, for them to know that they can do it too, right? And it's not serving you or the people who pay attention to you at all for you to play small, right? It is not serving anybody for you to play small. I always say it, but nobody is better off when Sarah Dan doesn't make money. Nobody is better off when I keep myself small or I keep myself accomplishing and achieving less than I possibly can. That who on the planet does that do any good for? It doesn't do anybody any good. And the same goes for you as well. And so again, I just wanted to remind you that when you come from a place of purpose, when you come from a place of genuinely wanting to impact the people who are listening to you, and again, when it's genuine, I really do believe that people can feel that. I know this is oversimplified, but for the most part in my business, I really get very little negativity. I get very little trolling. I get very few people who give me shit about what I'm saying or how I'm sharing it, or again, wins, talking about money. It has very, very, very rarely happened that people kind of come at me, kind of challenging me about it. And not that I have, not that I can't be challenged, but I mean that I don't get people coming out of the woodwork, total strangers being talking shit to me because I'm talking about money. And I would like to believe so much of that is because people can feel that I give a fuck. I really do feel that people can feel that. And so again, I say that because I want to remind you that people can feel when you care. Right? When you are showing up and serving because you want to, showing up and genuinely sharing those big numbers, the successes that you're having, the wins that you're having, you're sharing because you want to shake other people and make them feel that it's possible for them too. Again, people for the most part can feel that. That doesn't mean there's not going to be the occasional asshole. Of course not. But again, for the most part, people can feel your genuine intention for sharing good and for sharing that they can have it too. And so I want you to remind yourself of that versus being in so much fear about what may or may not come out of the woodwork, what may or may not be said negatively to challenge you, right? And I'll remind you always that this is another thing that is oversimplified, but I really make it my mission in life, in business, all of it. I make it my mission to not say things, to not do things that I can't own the fuck out of. So if I'm about to share a message about money, if I'm about to share a message about anything, I try to make it my goal that if somebody were to come back to me and challenge it, I wouldn't care all that much, or at least I wouldn't be massively triggered because I can stand by what I said. I can stand by why I said the thing that I said. And again, it's coming from a place of value. And so again, to go back to what I was saying earlier is, again, I think we've all been in that situation where we feel for a moment that like, okay, we could share this thing, we could throw it out there because it'll make us money, but it feels a little bit forced. It doesn't feel exactly like us, right? And so again, but when you come back to who you actually are and share it authentically, and again, share knowing that you are going to own every part of what you said, every part of what you did, because you know why you did it. You know the intentions behind it. Again, that's when life, business, all of it, it gets so much cleaner and it becomes so much less dramatic. You have so many fewer issues. And of course, that's what I want for you, right? Like in a very Mother Teresa kind of way here. I want all of you to truly, I want it so badly for each and every one of you to do work that you really care about. I want you to make a fuck ton of money doing that work. And I want you to show more and more women and humans that they have the opportunity to do that for themselves and that a lot of good happens when we all collectively do that. Like that's truly what I want. And so again, you coming from a place of ownership and authenticity and just simply sharing because you genuinely want to bring value and you genuinely want to show the world what is possible. That is when you get to share your wins without being a dick. And it also gets to do you a lot of good, right? But it also gets to do the world a lot of good. And again, that I know that sounds really fluffy and cheesy, but I also think it really truly is the truth. And so I hope that was helpful. I hope that, again, it resonated with you and that if you needed the permission, I hope you're feeling the permission to show up a little bit more big when it comes to your success and your wins. And truly, if you are somebody who wants to be surrounded by other people doing this unapologetically, making money unapologetically, or not even that they're making money unapologetically, but like they're stepping into that, right? They're stepping into that each and every day. Each and every day they're becoming more unapologetic. I would love to have you in the You're Fucking Welcome Insiders community because it is a great, positive, safe space. We're having a lot of fun over there. And again, it's still fairly new. And so things are going to change. Things are going to be added. We just started doing like daily prompts. Not because I want people to engage necessarily, like it's not like a cheap engagement trick, but it's been fun kind of asking silly or deep questions and kind of allowing everybody to get to know each other a little bit better. Everything from, what's your porn name to what's a clearing conversation that you need to have with somebody that you're, putting off, and giving people permission to just answer those questions and share a little bit about themselves. And you're finding people who are connecting and like, oh, I'm like that too. Oh my God, we should be friends. And this, that, the other thing. I think that like, the world, I don't know. I think adulthood can be a little bit lonely sometimes. I think that entrepreneurship can be a little bit lonely sometimes. I think we are all in a situation where we kind of, to an extent, kind of leave behind people we may have known before who don't get it. Not that we have to leave them behind, but we have to accept that like not everybody is on the same page as we are as we attempt to grow right in this life. And the fact that you can have, hundreds of women, right there in front of you that get it and that can support you on your bad days and kind of give you a little bit of permission, a little bit of uplifting when you need it, right? Permission to, again, be more unapologetic about all of this. Like it really does feel like such a high vibe, impactful, safe space. That's what I wanted to create. And so if you are somebody who's craving that, I think it's kind of crazy to not get in for just $19 a month. There's tons of trainings, tons of things, that really, again, allow you to step further into that, aside from just, like I said, the beautiful sense of community. And so SaturdayIShand.com for all the details and to sign up. Again, price goes up to $29 a month this Friday at the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, I hope this was helpful, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, I would really, really, really appreciate it if you took the time to rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps the show a ton, and I would be super grateful.